Hey, I'm Gary from Hydroponics in York Springs, Pennsylvania. Hello, do-it-yourselfers. Today we're going to be doing a 2-plant hydroponic system for a 2x4 grow tent. I've done a lot of videos on the hydroponics, but the 2x4 grow tent is a little bit tricky to get these fit in it the right way. I'm laying this out for a AC Infinity 2x4 grow tent. And pretty much, if you haven't watched our other videos, you should definitely check them out because I go into great detail about our buckets and our different parts we use. But this video is kind of for more of a specific tent. The tools you're going to need during this build, you want some rulers, something to measure with. My handy dandy T-square, I like using. I'm going to do a tape measure this time too, so I can measure some of the tubing that I cut. That way you guys will know what's up. Drill bits, we got a 1 1/4 inch, this is for the bulkheads. We got a 1/4 inch regular for the airline, and then this little bulkhead, this little drill bit is 1 3/16, which this doesn't really matter. This is going to be cutting the little hole for the cord coming out the bucket lid. And then I got my tubing cutters here. You can use other stuff to cut the tubing, but I like using these. Magic marker or something to write on the buckets. The buckets are black. I've used black before. If you got well-lit room, you can get away with that, but the silver is definitely my favorite. Deburr tool. This is to get the rough edges off the holes that you drill. And a razor knife. This will help you clean up some of the other holes. The AC Infinity Grow Tent is a 2x4. 2x4 tents are awesome because you can reach in and get to everything. When you get in these big tents, you either have to go in the back doors of the tents or just, reach in or around stuff. So 2x4 tents are definitely cool, especially for just the personal home grower. And the AC Infinity, even though it's a 2x4 tent, inside the floor of the tent is between the poles is actually 21 3/4 inch by 45.5 inches. So that's the area we're going to have to work with here. So I'm going to mark on this table just for this video. And we're going to draw the floor of the tent here to make it easier to deal with. For the video. Alright, so that's the floor of the tent. It'd be nice to get this thing totally centered in here, where each plant has exactly the same amount of space. So So 22.5 inches would be your middle. Alright, so that's our targets there. We're going to get this as close to the middle as we can, but it's a little tricky. And this is a dry erase marker, by the way. I already checked it to make sure it wipes off the table. But yeah, that's what we're shooting for, to get the plants centered up in the 2x4 area the best that we can. We're going to be using a bunch of different stuff for this. 6-inch net baskets. These fit any 5-gallon bucket. While we're talking about that, this is our standard 5-gallon bucket. I'm going to build this one with one of our mini buckets. This is what they call a 3-gallon, but it's actually 3.5 gallons. The only difference between these two buckets is the height. The lids fit fine on both of them. So that's really the only difference. Talking 4 inches. This helps for short areas. You can also have some customers that veg in this size and they lift the lid off and then transplant it into their bigger system. So that works awesome too. We do sell blank lids too, and I've had some customers get fancy And if they have our Hydroponic system, they'll go drill a hole in here for this, and they can take this out and put it into our Hydroponic system. So veg in this, go into the Hydroponic system. So different ideas. But yeah, we're gonna build it with the mini today. I don't think I've done any videos on the minis. We have mini bubble buckets, we have mini styrofoams. These are BPA-free, high-quality black buckets here that don't off-gas and mess your plants up. So pretty much my goal is to get it as centered in this tent as possible. That way both plants have very close to even coverage on the lighting and even space to grow. This is as close as you can get them, but this system is tricky. That's why I want to do this video. These are 1-inch bulkheads here. And the closest you can get these is this close, which would push this bucket way out. So we're going to work around that by using 1-inch elbows on the front side here. So we're going to build a piece like that. That's going to go up front. And then in the back here is going to be a solid line going across to connect back. I don't like using elbows on anything because the water does not flow as good through an elbow. I've seen other systems where they use elbows on everything, and I'm like, I don't know why they do that. That's why we're different. Alright, so I got the buckets pretty much where as close to centered up on here as I can. Kind of putting the handles out the sides on these two plant site ones. And then handle on the front bucket. And this still leaves me about 1 inch over here for the water level kit to come up. That's our famous blue tube water level indicator. Alright, so I'm going to take my roller here. So on the back side, instead of going straight across, since I don't want to hit the Windows bucket, I'm going to kind of set these off about 1/2 inch out. And the soft tubing that we use will flex right around here. All right, to set these up so that we get this little angle, I'm going to go pre-cut some tubing right now. The tubing is going to have to be exactly as tight as I can get this. So about that far. This is just enough tubing to connect the pieces. So I need altogether 4 of these pieces. I'm going to throw them in my hot water here. Burning hot water is a good idea. You throw them in there for 30 seconds, it loosens the tubing up, and then when the tubing cools back down, it kind of shrinks onto the fittings real nice. So if you do buy from us and you get any kits that have pre-assembled tubing, you should throw it in hot water anyway, and then put the system together. It'll help it go a lot better. I grab my screwdriver here. I don't like to stick my hands in the burning hot water, so. And it was just sink water, by the way. It's just hot sink water. All right. So yeah, you can feel that the fittings are touching each other inside the tubing, so it's pretty much as close as you're going to get with it. All right, 1. So anyway, I'm not going to put that one together yet because we're going to be taking these apart to put them on the buckets. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. And this is kind of, I built this to figure out my angles on these drill holes, so. So as you can see, this one's going to be drilled right about there to the center, and then that's going to be there. All right, so that's our marks. We got your back side of the bucket's going across, and then it's going to make a circle of tubing. And that's why we call it Hydroponics, because it keeps it stirred up. If you haven't watched our other videos, you don't want to drill your holes in the bucket too far down, because inside the bucket there's a little curved kind of bottom of the bucket, curves around, and if this gets crooked inside the bucket, it's not going to seal up. I've done 1.5 inches up, will work for these, but I've been doing lately 1 5/8 just to make sure they're not getting close to the bottom of the bucket. I do so many of these, I got my T-square drawn off 1 5/8, so but you can use a tape measure to do this. Pretty much I'm painting a bullseye on the bucket of where I'm going to be drilling. Our main circulation markings there. 1 1/4 inch drill bit, hole saw. Don't use a paddle bit, it'll tear your buckets up. Lined up back where it should be here. All right. All right, I'm going to deburr this thing now. I did flip it around so you guys see better, but the deburr tool, you can use a razor knife too. This just helps get off the rough edge here. I like to check them with the bulkhead. Even when I ship these out, I check every single one. Check your bulkheads too. If you haven't seen our other videos, little plastic ridge on these things has given us problems. I've tried to get a hold of the manufacturer about it, and yeah. So yeah, this is a nice tight fit on this. You don't want it super sloppy. You don't want too much looseness on it. And just snug it up. You don't have to go turn it, tighten it like the Incredible Hulk here. All right, it's deburred. Most of the sealing up of these things are done on the inside of the bucket. Like that's the main part you really want to have nice and smooth. The outside, even these rubber gaskets that these come with, the outside one really doesn't do anything. It's the inside gasket that's the important one. So yeah, they fit on nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and put all of them on. And of course check every one of them. I tried other brands of these things, and this is the HydroFlow brand, and they're just built the best, even though they got this little ridge on them. I do set an instruction sheet with these that tells you how to deal with this, because we're not going to sit here and go through hundreds of these things every week. So it's really an easy fix. This can make it leak though if you don't do this and check them. Some batches come in pretty good and others are not good. The camera guy's always yelling at me because I bang the microphone and everything. But Never claimed to be a professional YouTuber. But I do appreciate all you guys watching and for subscribing. If you over tighten these, the rubber washer will squish out and then it really leaks. So everything's looking good on those. Alright, so got these soaking in the hot water. That way I knew I was going to be using them. Alright, that's the front side. And your back side tubes are right along here. And we are darn close to being centered up on our 2x4 tent. So that was the main goal of this, showing you guys that. Alright, so I'm going to cut it about there. Throw that in the hot water for a minute. Alright, so if my X's are the centers here, we might be off maybe a half an inch, which is awesome. It's kind of gives you an idea. It's a little funky on the drilling, that's why I wanted to show everybody this. But it can definitely work. So, water level indicator. This is our little blue kit we sell, tons of these. I'm going to ride up the side, maybe we'll put it off to the side a little bit, just so if your tent door, you don't want it hitting your tent door. There's little ribs up in here. Let me show you this. I feel like this has definitely been shown in a lot of videos, but just in case you haven't seen it yet, the water level kit comes with these little parts here, and this little clip here, and this rim that I'm going to drill on. This has to be able to poke through. You don't want to drill through your whole bucket with this, because then water's going to come out of it. But there's little ribs inside of here. You don't want to drill into your ribs either. So I'm going to center it up when I put the mark on here, in between the two of those ribs. And that's where we're going to drill at. So anyway, the water level kit is going to look something like this. These half-inch drain bulkheads here don't really have the little rim on them that messes them up. So I'm going to shorten this one just a hair, just because it's going to be a tight squeeze in this tent. I'll just cut off this little piece there. But you can do that yourself if you'd like. The clip just goes right in there. And there it is. So two plant sites. Then this is going to be your monitor reservoir bucket that you can get into and check the pH and add water and suck the water out of here. We include a little piece of extra tubing to suck the water out. Alright, so next thing I'll do is drill the air holes. I usually run my air out the back side of the buckets. In between this top rim is where you want to go, that way you're above the water level. Eyeballing that up. 1/4-inch drill bit for that too. Little quick deburr on the inside here. And that is for our air lines. We're going to put air lines in the plant buckets, but not in the pump bucket. Just because the bubbles end up going into the pump, and plus they don't make a 3-output air pump, so All right. The pump for all the Hydroponic systems is 75 gallon per hour. It's called Eco 66. If you haven't watched other videos, I tried to explain that you can't use a bigger pump on this. If you do, it pushes the water really high in the next bucket, and then it doesn't have time to get back around. So you get really uneven water levels. But 75 gallons per hour will keep things stirred up. So that's really all you need. These pumps come with 3 attachments. The biggest one in this little bag is the one you want. That takes a 1/2 inch tubing. These pumps are adjustable too. It has a plus and a minus here. I usually try to run them full speed. When you need to clean them, the front cover does pop off of these. And you can get in there and clean it. You can pop this cover off. That gets your impeller. Pretty much every pump you own, you should be able to take apart and clean, because you're going to need to do that. If you don't do that, we're going to get crudded up. All right, this is a fancy little piece here. How do I explain this best? The back side of these fittings, these 3 bulkheads, this is 3/4 inch. And that fits in the back side of these nicely. So when it's inside the bucket, the pump is going to push and it's going to work great. But the pump itself only has a 1/2 inch. So in between here is a 1/2 inch to 3/4 reducer. I got this at a hardware store. It's actually where we go and get them all the time. So pretty much that's going to fit on the pump. Then that's going to go on the back side of here. Then that's going to cause your circulation of your system, keep it stirred up. Alright, so pretty much the pump is wedged against the wall of the bucket, and that's going to force the water to run this way and then back around. And it's going to keep it stirring it up all day. You can, like after a week, I recommend people take the pump and face it the other direction. That way your roots aren't going one way all the time. But yeah, that's the pump part of it. All right, the cord itself, we have the blank lid here. I'm just going to take my, what is that, a 1 3/16 inch. This really doesn't matter. You probably use your 1 1/4 inch if you want. So that notched me a notch for the cord. I'm going to take my straight edge here and clean up the hole a little bit. We will offer this as a kit on the website too. But I hope you guys, I really appreciate everybody ordering from us. I think it's awesome. But I know some of you that can, or you just like to source stuff yourself, you will be able to get this figured out and hopefully give you other ideas for other systems. So yeah, that's the notch out hole. I guess since this is like right in the middle of the tent, you probably do want to maybe put a piece of tape over it once you get the cord hooked on, just to keep any light from getting in there. Algae only grows where light can directly hit the water, so. And you have your net baskets. Get all this stuff out of my way. Pretty much the air for these, when you get an air pump, think of each output of it as good for 5 gallons. The big metal pumps like these use the bigger air stones than these. These are what we call the mediums. They're 2 inch by 2 inch round air stones. If you haven't watched those other videos that we have, I've talked about air stones quite in depth. I like these. We'll leave it at that for now. I've been loving this Fluoroflex tubing here for air. Some people don't like the green color, but I love it. It's very flexible and pretty much going to thread that through your hole. And this can sit right in the middle of the bucket on the bottom, right underneath your plant. Try to keep your air pump outside your tent. If you got like a nice cool spot to set it, that'll help keep it cool because it'll suck in cool air instead of whatever your room air is. Like if you have an air conditioning vent or something, or at least set it on the floor. I will say this, that you should have it up higher than your buckets, because I've had the power cut off before and it siphons back through the pump, the water, so that could be a problem. These Hydroponic pumps are really nice. They've done really good for us. We've been selling with a lot of our systems and very low return rate. People are calling me like, should I get an extra air pump? And really, I mean, you've got probably a good year or so before these things break, if not a couple years. On the bottom of the air pump is a little filter. This thing right here is where the air actually goes in the pump at. You can pop this disc off, and there's a piece of foam in here, and you can clean that once in a while. That's the air. Now I'm gonna go get some water. I run my cords out the tent here. I get this thing totally going in the tent. That way you'll all have a better vision of it. We're using one of the bottom duct ports here. It's got the cord port in the back too. We could have went out that, but all right, we're gonna fill it up. Got it centered really nice in here, so you're gonna need the water up high enough to touch your starter plants. So I might end up putting a little bit more into this, but just for this little demonstration here, we're just gonna plug it in and get it going here. So that is on. Water's pumping this way and then going back and around. Doesn't look like it's moving much, but it's moving 75 gallons an hour. So that's all you need to keep it stirred up. If I haven't mentioned it, that's why we call it Hydroponics. An air pump I've got elevated over here. Trying to keep that above my water level so that if the power goes off somehow, water doesn't siphon through to the pump, because that's not part of the warranty. We also include a 5-foot piece of drain hose here, so when you want to drain the system, you can just pull the pump out and then stick this on there. Then drop your pump down in. And then you can drain the system like that. This gives you an idea there, the water flow too. That little pump does kick out a lot, so. Also, you can do your leak check too. I'm out of paper towels right now. My employees are probably laughing because we're always out of paper towels. But you can put a little piece of paper towel around each of the bulkheads here and check to see if you see any wetness. And then the pump, you can crank that all the way up. And leave that running 24/7. That way they got plenty of bubbles. And that's the 2-plant Hydroponic for a 2x4 grow tent. Really the biggest difference are these parts down here to get it to fit evenly in here. And then this will be available on the website as a kit to do it yourself, or you can have me drill it for you for a small fee. And as I said it before, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I mean, if this is your first video ever seen of the Hydroponics, please go watch the other ones, because I talk about all kinds of stuff that I didn't mention during this. So this was just a tricky little drill job here. We're also going to do a video of a 3-plant system for a 2x4 tent, so look out for that one. And other than that, thanks for watching. I'm Gary from Hydroponics. Take care.